Hello and welcome to this week of Laws of Community with our special segment, Homeless to Home Free. I am Ronald J. Raymond, and this is, as always, beautiful.
That's it. That's all I get.
I was wondering if you were gonna finish it, but you're beautiful, Hanna Sumrall. There you go, guys.
I didn't know if I got any other kind of introduction besides just beautiful. I mean, I'll take it. That's fine. I just,
Magnificent.
you know, not that I'm like your co-host or
You're my
partner
co-host.
or anything. I don't
I
know.
mean, I wasn't saying I'm your host. I mean, okay. You, you're the co-host as well. Yeah. Jeez. Gotta
I
give me
have
your
terrible
coffee.
lighting today, though.
No, dang. And
You
we've
look
and
just
we've
magnificent
replaced
over there.
all of the light bulbs.
And there's still one that's out, and then two that keep going out in the kitchen. I think it's okay.
Man, the
Whatever.
struggles of being in a house. Um, I'm sorry. I had hey, goes well with the theme of this week, right? I mean, the underlying tone.
It does.
I mean, a lot of
It
people
does,
don't
though.
have the ability to afford the greatest lighting. A lot of people don't have the ability to afford lighting at all. Um, but
So we should be saying that we get to deal with light bulbs because it is a
yes,
privilege.
yes. So basically, as you guys know, we every third week we talk about what the struggles can entail of any sort of walks of life that are along the lines of homelessness. Homelessness, I don't know if you guys really understand out there in the world what homelessness can be. I mean, it could be something that can be as basic as even just couch hopping, couch surfing, um, sleeping in your car. It's being without a place that you can call your home. It can be also a state of mind. I mean, when I was homeless, there's a lot of friends that would say that they were not homeless; they were home free. That's kind of where I came up with the title of this segment, um, because they would say it was a state of mind, it was a state of being, more of the fact that wherever they lay their head at night, wherever they feel that they are feeling the most alive and the most themselves, that's where their home is. You know, that's what it means to have a home. Is to really feel at home. So,
Wow.
you know,
Well, I'm glad that you found that with me, my dear.
absolutely, I have. I think it's been a fantastic year since too.
Yeah, we made it a whole year and a month now. Look at us
Yeah, a
go.
whole year and a month. It's
Um,
exciting.
so yeah,
We've done so
didn't you
much
have?
together.
Yes, that is true. That is very true. But didn't you have something that you wanted to share with the audience today before we bring our guest in?
Yes. So we before we bring our guest Celene uh, to the stage, I have a poem that I have written the last this last week, and I call it "To Get High, One Must Let Go." Today I think I found God, just a little more. I'm letting go of the reins to let the horses do what they were born for. Imagine the rain coming down in a warm pour, like coffee spilt all over the cold floor. I ain't poor anymore. My soul is enlightened and I'm opening up so many closed doors. Cold to the core. It's how I felt when I was alone. No place I felt happy or really at home. But that has changed after I tumbled myself in a cage like a rolling stone. And now I glow like a diamond, always shining. reminding myself of the gears that are winding back, tying the knot, making sure my rope won't snap, applying the knowledge that the fathers before me all had. That's a fact. Think back to a time where happiness was a high. Now all happiness seems to be a lie. Not to me, though, but society. Always covering up the mess that's inside. Why hide? Can pride be so intoxicating it makes you hit a low? Slow down, walk heel to toe, and take a deep breath. Let it all go. So I felt this poem was a good poem to display today because it really kind of shows the feeling of what somebody who feels like without a home kind of goes through internally. Um, you know, always feeling like you're not necessarily good enough. Always feeling like the rain's pouring down on you. Um, you know, like just so much is happening around you, and you gotta clear out your mind. You gotta find whatever it is that you can to distract yourself. And some of us don't ever find that peace of mind. Other times, people are, some of us are lucky enough to find others in our lives that are able to help us tumble the right way. And with that, without further ado, I'd like to bring on Celene. She's a good friend of mine. I've known her since high school. How are you doing, Celene?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Good. Welcome,
Doing
welcome.
well.
And I will leave you guys to it, and I will be back 5 minutes before our time is up. Thanks for
Sounds
being
good.
here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, uh, how would you say, um, just to kind of get things rolling with me, reading off that poem? I saw your face kind of light up a couple things that I said, especially after I was starting to kind of elaborate the meaning afterwards. What kind of hit base with you while hearing it, kind of entailing with homelessness and finding your place?
Basically, like how society, the to me, the part that hit most was when you mentioned how society, how they feel about happiness and how it can't be achieved, especially in today's state of mind. I looked at that from my own perspective, and I know, like, I used to feel that way. I used to be, I don't want to say petty, but I mean, I was in such a low, I didn't think I was ever going to get out of it. So it really resonated with me there.
I hear you. Yeah, I definitely I appreciate your input. Uh and yeah, that's one thing I feel like a lot of my poems actually, since I was on the streets, I kind of have reflected with, is not really being happy and then finding my own personal happiness. Um and I think that really has a lot to do with what causes people to end up homeless, end up feeling like they're without a home even if they have a home. I mean, I've known people that feel like they're homeless even living in a home, just because they don't feel like they have any place where they're at. you know Everybody constantly like stepping around them and stepping over them, and you using them for their own accord, but not ever really doing anything to make them feel welcome. So, um, what we were talking about your experiences with mainly just couch surfing. Um, what would you like to say to our audience about your experience?
Um, Goodness. In the like, so prior to couch surfing, when I was a child, about 12, 13, for a summer, my dad broke his ribs and a horse stepped on him. And so we lost the house. We had a nice house too. It was kind of crazy because we went from country living to city living. And by city living, I mean, went from a home with 7+ acres. You know, we all had our own rooms. That was kind of a first for us. And then we went to living in the city with my grandparents, which was a 2 bedroom, 1 bath house, like 700 to 800 square feet. And then, not to mention, my grandmother used to cook dinner every day for aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody that would stop by. So imagine 20 to 30 people in a house every day. You don't have privacy. You don't have all the toys that I could bring. I had to share with my cousins. You don't have anything to really call your own. I know me and my grandpa got in some fights a couple of times because I was easily overstimulated. I still kind of am to this day, but it was really hard thinking back to those days. But luckily, some of my friends were like, "Hey, come stay with us." So the summer didn't last as long as it felt. Um, then fast forward to 19, 20 years old, staying in between friends. Um, you know, I could have stayed with my parents, but it really wasn't a environment that was supporting or um looking back at the abuse I faced. It wasn't really a choice. It was this or that. And I chose that because even though I had to endure a lot of hardships with that, it still wasn't as bad as having to sit there and face my abusers when they stopped by and act like everything was okay. So it took a lot of, there was a lot of emotional turmoil there, mental, physical, a lot of things came up, and it just seemed better to not be there. Now, in saying that, that did lead me down other paths I probably shouldn't have taken, but I still did. And to this day, I'm glad I did because it led me to where I'm at. It was a huge thing to grow.
Absolutely, I feel you there. I mean, like, if I hadn't have gone through all of my experiences, I know I definitely wouldn't be the person I am today. I know I wouldn't be as open-hearted, open-minded, and caring towards others as I am today. Going through a lot of those experiences, having to really struggle and survive, like we were talking about earlier. It's not really living. You get into a mentality where you think about now what's happening today, what's happening tonight. You don't think about what's happening in a week, in a month, in a year. You think about what's happening here and now. So you really start to hone in on what you are doing, what it is that you need to take care of, what things you're neglecting, and all these aspects that society are kind of just throwing on you. And you get to just sit back and really go, wow, you know, maybe I need to do something to really change my situation. Um, and it's powerful. I love hearing from people, saying that their experiences really, really made a difference because, a lot of people see, people struggling and don't really think about the changes that those people are internally going through, in order to really get themselves in that right position. So what is it that you've kind of done to get yourself from going from uh, couch surfing to getting yourself into a better position? What really in that time period, the 3 months that you mentioned that you were couch surfing, what really kind of clicked that made you go, this is something that I don't need to be enduring. Let me go and change something up. And what was it that you did to change?
So in one of the instances, or multiple at this case, I would bring my stuff, the small things that were important to me to, just kind of keep that small bit of sanity. Like I play instruments. Um, One of the people I was staying with, he was hard into drugs and he pawned off my guitar. Some of my other
Oh wow.
friends, they pawned off important things to me, like jewelry, my grandmother,
I know how that goes.
yeah, my buckles, like things that were very sentimental to me, just gone. And that was that was kind of hard because I see the people around me that are choosing to do these things and I'm just sitting here like, dude, I'm trying to get by and you're sitting here selling off my stuff, like. And it would be like while I was at work with one of my friends, and I say friends because like we I knew he was a drug addict, but I still tried to help him. And at the end, we were friends. I forgave him for the things he did. He did his best to stay clean. He ended up dying from COVID. So I don't really like to talk
Wow.
to him. But he was one of the people that let me stay with him for a little while. And I took him to my grandpa's ranch to go hunting. And, this was prior to knowing he was on drugs. But he ended up leaving me stranded out there, man, for what was it? And what I mean by stranded, that's in the middle of nowhere. It took me 4 hours walking in the middle of the dark with like hogs, big cats, it's crazy out there. Middle of the dark to go find a house to go ask to use their phone. And out there, you can't just walk onto people's property and knock on their door, it was scary. But yeah, he left me there and then took my stuff to sell it. And that was kind of the last straw. It was like, okay, I can't be doing this. But luckily, I got another job as a boat mechanic and decided to stay, like move back in with my parents for a couple of weeks till this one person came along and was like, hey, I totally get where you're coming from. I have a spare bedroom if you want to come stay with me for a while. I was like, are you serious? Like, and this guy seemed genuine. He had everything going for him. So I knew at the time, like, he wasn't going to try to steal my stuff. And he seemed really kind. So I felt like I could trust him. 6 years later, we got married. But that kind of,
That's awesome.
coming back to what I did to get from there to there, it was just because he had his own money, and even today as we're married, I don't like taking his stuff and being like, oh yeah, this is mine. No, like Thomas did all that. This is Thomas's house. That's Thomas's car, I still strive to do my own thing, but by doing so, we've grown together. Like, I mean, I can
Absolutely.
talk about the successes, but I know you want to talk about like how we got from there to here. But really, it came down to a different mindset of I went from being woe is me and poor me to, okay, what do I need to do to really get my life on track? So I started reading financial books, things like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and things like that, and really started educating myself in what I was doing wrong. And from there, the business came and everything else.
Okay. And with your business, what is it that you mainly focus on for our audience to know? What is it that you've been doing with your business and how you've been getting along with that?
Oh gosh. Been at this for 2 years now. I mainly focus on artwork,
Congrats.
like one of my paintings in the background. But what I do now is
Yeah, guys, that is a painting she did. That is not a picture or some like digitally done uh tiger. That's a painting. It's amazing.
Thank you. No, I
You're welcome.
focused on 3D modeling. I saw things that I couldn't afford, and I was like, how do I like? can anybody do this? And one of the customers was like, yeah, if you know how to 3D model, you can print it and then people will buy it. In my first model, he was not that great, but somebody bought it and that inspired me to keep trying. And nowadays, like my stuff,
That's awesome.
yeah. But if I do have any advice for somebody that's going through anything like that, one thing I wish I had known back then was that some cities, luckily I live in Fort Worth, but some cities do offer basically help. Like Fort Worth, if you're homeless, they will load you up with a cell phone. They will of course you do have to pass drug tests for these things, but they will give you a cell phone. They'll pay for it for the month. They give you housing if, you know, especially if you're a female or you've got a child, stuff like that. And I know it's hard, especially when you're bringing children into it, because then, you know, CPS wants to get involved. But and I'm grateful, you know, it was always just me, like I didn't have a child. But there are city services that you can take advantage of, and they will, as long as you are trying, they will work with you. But I know a lot of the hard part is, you know, being clean. But
Yeah. Well, thank you, Yari, by the way, for all your comments and all your beautiful words, and thank you everybody who's been viewing. I just noticed you were commenting down in the bottom. Uh, yeah, I feel you there. I mean, there definitely is a lot of difficulties when it comes to that, but I'm glad that at least a lot of states, a lot of regulations are starting to kind of give an understanding to certain things. I mean, like there really aren't there really are a few drugs out there that really aren't that bad. Um, CBD, THC products. I mean, they're herbs from the earth, and but there's a lot of people out there that are just completely doing a lot of harder drugs, heroin, meth, crack, stuff like that. And yeah, I could see that causing issues, but it sucks these people that still get caught up for stuff like marijuana. I mean, honestly. And that's one of the things that I believe Oregon, why they decriminalized so many drugs or decriminalized all drugs is because of the huge homeless populace. I mean, all drugs are decriminalized there, and uh, I mean, when I was on the streets there, when I was homeless and I was there, I it was the funniest situation. Like there were a couple cops that were standing there talking to me and some other bums on the sidewalk, and all of a sudden a fire truck goes flying by, and they get a call on the radio, and they start cracking up. They're like, ha 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 ha, blah 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 blah. They're like, you can't overdose on a pot brownie. And we're like, what just happened? And these cops are like, oh yeah, some 65-year-old man just called in for thinking he's overdosing on a pot brownie. And we told him, no, we're not gonna go to it because he can't overdose on pot. And I'm sitting there on the street just going, this is the most interesting, like what just happened. And so it kind of makes sense why Portland and just Oregon in general, I mean, would do such thing. They've been so lenient and so laxed on so many things for years. Um, but in my mind, it's also, I mean, look at a lot of the articles now because of so little of the regulations that have been out there to benefit you and more regulations out there to get you. Um, there's been a lot of addicts. There's been a lot of addicts that haven't gotten the necessary help that you've mentioned. There's a lot of people that just keep going back because they get into bad situations with their friends and stuff like that. And like you said, you had a couple friends that were bad addicts. I mean, like, what if you could say anything for those out there, what would you say to those out there that just need kind of a place to go or a place to be, and they go to stay at a friend's, they find out that they're addicted to something, they're possibly not going to be in the right situation to help them, on the aspect that they're actually seeking. What would you advise towards them?
This may sound harsh, but I mean, you can't help anyone until you can help yourself. So if you're in a
Yeah,
situation where you're trying, you were just trying to get by, you are just straight up surviving. I don't want to say you got to leave those people behind, but sometimes you can't fix other people's problems. And usually when it comes to drug use, there is a reason that they started using drugs in the first place. That was something that was really hard for me to swallow. Um, but it helped humble me in a sense of seeing the other side of it. I'm grateful that I never really went down that route. I did deal with alcoholism since I was about 15, and nowadays, I don't have a problem with it, but it used to be a huge problem. I used it to
congrats.
escape. But if you if you got a friend that's going through that, the most you can do is just try to not try to help them get help, but encourage them to get help. And if they don't want to help themselves, there is honestly nothing you can do. You can't change people who don't want to change themselves. So
Absolutely.
take care of you. And once you get where you need to be, everything else will fall in place.
Absolutely. I think that's a beautiful place to kind of end our conversation today.
I absolutely
You
love
know,
that.
I feel like it definitely once again, like, homelessness it ultimately is a state of being, but it's a state of mind as well, and a lot of it has to do with your surroundings, the support or the lack of. And so, really well said. I mean, really well put. Um, you know, I appreciate it.
Yes.
Do you
Thank you
have?
so much.
Thank you
uh,
for having me.
Oh, goodness.
do you have any
Bless you.
closing? Thank you. I appreciate it. Do you have any closing things to add or anything like that, Hannah?
No, I just wanted to tell her thank you for being on, and definitely lots of insight. I always love hearing about all the stories. Um, and one of these days, I think still in the future, we might get on the road, but not right now. We rubber tramp plenty, that's for sure.
Well, hopefully I'll
Yeah.
be able to come visit
Um.
here.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, and I hope that you have a good rest of your evening. And I appreciate you for being on our show today.
Thank y'all for having
Um,
me. It was great being here.
Thank
absolutely.
you.
And oh yeah, before you go, everybody go to her link. I posted it on our Facebook page, but go to our link, or just go to her page on Facebook. It's Celene Dionn Arts, or Celene Dionn Art. Do you have a website as well?
Yeah, it's just
What's
celenebeyond.com.
CeleneDion.com? Okay,
It might be under
awesome.
construction right
So,
now, but I mean, it's there.
okay. And yes, follow her on Instagram, follow her on Facebook, follow her on all those places. And thank you again.
Thanks, y'all.
And I hope y'all have a wonderful evening and see you guys next time.
Alrighty, bye guys.